We just watched you and Ian in first class when we went to coach.
That's because y'all cheap won't pay for first class. It's not because you're getting robbed. No, your white wouldn't pay for first class, and they gave you 37D. Ian paid for his own first class.
We flying first class, right?
I'm 6'2", I can't do that, coach.
I mean, is that really important right now?
Oh, whoa.
What ICE getting paid?
I can't tell you what ICE is getting paid. That's not how this goes.
What's that back end money looking like, fam?
The back end of what?
Do I need to get the accountant?
You could get your own accountant, but they won't be accounting my accounting.
$900 million is enough for you?
As long as I can see the accountant.
Yes.
God damn it, I say let's do it.
Episode 357 of the Joe Budden podcast was really detailed and gave us all of the things going on behind the scenes as the biggest podcast and best podcast I ever listened to fell out. Now I know a lot of you are saying, Danny, this is the same old, but it would have undertones that would persist into the Ish and Ice era and even the Flip era. Now, Rory and Mal would clash over jokes, money, and the tone build across this whole episode. Now, Mal was usually his passive-aggressive self, but he appeared to be more comfortable, while Rory looked increasingly annoyed. The Rory-Joe Budden tension was at a fever pitch, and Joe had an increasing desire to control the tone and content of his show. This needs to be broken down step by step, booklet by booklet, because Ian Schwarzman plays a key role in this whole thing. Ian is the longtime manager of Joe Budden. By long time, I mean he came in 2016. You can see here insight into what type of agreement they had.
And then my wheels started turning. I'm like, all right, well, he was proactive. I was still thinking about it. So what I did was I started playing the game of management, which is, let's say year one, Joe brings in $250,000 and I'm under a 20% management agreement. Okay, 50 grand. Keeb, even if it's 50 grand, we can make that work.
There was a lot to work out, but
right.
I wasn't so gun-ho music. We're about to go and have another 15-year music run when we met.
No, you weren't at all.
On top of that, Rosenberg opines in an interview in 2016 about how Joe Budden completely revamped his team.
Ask yourself about when people have everyone new around them. Arab's new to basically being his partner. His manager's new. Everyone's new.
And you can even have some insight into the logic Joe Budden had in replacing Corey for Ian.
When Joe transitioned out of our business arrangement, we were friends. We had a conversation which led to his transition to Ian. Mm-hmm. Right? During this time, we still had a full tour to go on. We had to go out on tour. Mm-hmm. All of us. Mm-hmm. Full well me knowing we might not be seeing eye to eye, but we got to go out on this tour. Mm. I'm still going to show up for him when I need to show up for him.
So I say this to preface that the relationship with Ian is instrumental in defining the dynamics between the rest of his cast. You can see it now with Flip, Ish, and Ice. They seem to think that their presence on the show or their friendship in his life takes precedent, but that is far from the case. If you do simple research, if you watch episodes of the podcast, you can see Joe has a deep reverence for Ian. This is the guy that was able to get him the value that the music industry wouldn't get him. Now, let's look at episode 357 and give a breakdown of everything that happened because it's crucial to understand this whole piece. Now, from the very beginning, Mal is on his phone. Yeah, that was a big issue for the podcast. Mal would constantly be on his phone and really wouldn't contribute towards the end. And he would say this in his response to Joe Budden after the 437 episode, saying that he felt dejected because he wasn't getting his proper value.
It was just weird. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
And for a while, my energy started to disappear because, like I said, I don't even know who I'm dealing with anymore at this point.
But while Mal was on his phone, another key point here is that Rem was present, Park's wife. Now, I only highlight Rem being present is because her laughter gave insight into how infectious the chemistry of the podcast was. Rem wanted to be there. And when Ish and Ice started recording in Park's house, Rem wasn't there. It was laid back and it was fun and the vibe was right and smooth. Now, there was also an interesting joke that Joe would make about Rory abandoning him, and it was a playful but telling moment. Rory says he doesn't care about Joe, foreshadowing the friction that would later come on.
It shouldn't be. I'm your friend. That's the point that I'm making to you.
Sometimes you gotta fight your friends, though, man.
I would not.
I know.
I would not.
Who the said we was friends?
The hell do I look?
I'm not fighting none of my friends at 40, no.
Now, this is also the time when the podcast was leaning into versus convo. I remember being on the Reddit and being on message boards for the Joe Budden podcast, and folks hated the Joe Budden conversation about versus. I mean, this team did a full deep dive into the Jada versus Fab versus, which really wasn't that big of a deal, but I guess Joe felt the show lacked substance, so he had to lean into that whole thing. Then Rory references the Shade Room podcast, basically saying that we've become a Shade Room podcast, and this would be the tension that would underline the creative differences. As in episode 1 of his podcast, Rory would say that he no longer wants to do Shade Room topics.
We're developing some stuff outside of just like, let's set up some microphones and talk about what's on the Shade Room.
No, we want to go.
We did that for a long time.
Yeah, we elevate.
And it was draining.
But Joe Budden did. After that, Joe asked Mal to stop stepping on jokes.
It's like me and Love and Hip Hop.
Is that? That's not how it happened.
Listen, Mal, I might be joking. Stop stepping on jokes.
I'm not.
This is a control moment, a fight for the fabric of the show, and Joe would eventually win, with Rory and Mal having to go on their own show to execute their vision. After that, a bitter joke surfaces, and Rory calls Joe bitter. Then, this was a passive-aggressive move by Joe. At the time, Joe was playing this sound effect, basically a sound effect in baseball. Whenever somebody scores, they say you're safe.
You know what I mean? He's one of the best engineers and producers in music history.
It's a safe. You can leave that in his hands.
He is safe at the plate. We will have a challenge.
And that's what Joe would play every time Rory and Mal said something safe. An attempt to reset or reframe Rory, Mal, and Parks as people who don't want to give it up and would rather protect their industry relationships. Then Joe Budden gets mad.
You shut the fuck up. You've been saying stupid shit for weeks, and I've been letting it go.
He had a relationship with Q.
Say it on your podcast. No, you say it on your podcast.
He had a relationship with Q.
I'm sick of Mal saying it on my podcast. Shut up.
What are you talking about?
And after that, Joe Budden would take it up another level with great aggression, saying, y'all cheap ain't flying first class because y'all don't want to fly first class. Now, this is at the time when Rory and Mal began questioning the expenses, though they say that, Rory and Mal were questioning expenses throughout their time at the podcast. But Rory and Mal took issue with how Joe was in first class with Ian while Rory and Mal flew coach. Hey, man. This is a big deal in podcasting. A lot of people feel like they're valued, and conversations about who brings in what begins to escalate to the point where people don't feel compensated, not just in money, but in slights to a person's character. After that, Joe Budden would attack Rory and Mal. This was a joke, but it was still something that I think he felt. He emasculates them and calls them the P word.
Pause that for a minute. The three of y'all pussy.
Then there's tension about a benign subject, Kid Cudi. This whole thing about Kid Cudi, it was like issue between Rory and Joe, and I don't even think the issue was about Cudi. It was issues stemming from Rory and Joe's deteriorating relationship. Then music issues arise, and Joe starts talking about music rights.
I don't give a about Ludacris. Like, y'all go and work that record. It's me and it's my time now.
Nothing to do with me.
I believe this is insight into the trauma that Joe experience from the music industry. That's right, y'all. In podcasting, Joe Budden has found a recluse from the industry tactics, the ability to put years worth of work into an album and for it to come out and flop, and also the money you make being ate away by expenses that you can't track. But little did he know, as he became a podcast mogul, the people within his view would start to accuse him of those very same tactics. And after that, the Joe-Rory hate flares, with Rory and Joe dislike simmering into real visible tension, leading into a joke about ad money.
I'm not watching because I'm fighting for all of us in this room to receive our proper advertising money.
Often the source of off-mic resentment between these people, because Joe was talking about, I'm trying to make the business work, I'm trying to get our proper value, but that fell on deaf ears with regards to Rory and Mal, because they likely felt Joe wasn't doing any of that and was looking out for his pockets. Then the serious undertones begin to take place with a debate about ads and the difference in money and value surfacing.
YouTube, because they're cutting them in. Rory, my only argument to you is there are places that are not cutting people in, and the music industry is one of them. I'm not sure
cutting people in don't make it right. They need to be paid what they deserve. Just because you gave me $1 million don't mean when I'm worth $1 billion. What the f are you talking about?
Then the argument intensifies, and Joe calls out Rory for the way he argues, with a personal dig coming in, and Joe saying that Rory argues like one of his side.
Rory just argued.
No.
I've explained to you thoroughly the difference.
You told me. I said a word.
Explained. You're not,
the artist is still
please
getting
don't be
fucked.
like my side.
Oh my God. This episode remains key in understanding the breakup between Joe, Rory, and Mal. But not just the breakup between Joe, Rory, and Mal, the breakup between Mandy and Bridget, the breakup between Deezus and Mero, the breakup between podcasters who would never launch a podcast. This was endemic in the culture of the Wild Wild West in the new medium. And this episode would reveal how important Ian Schwarzman was. Am I compromised? But anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. What do you think about episode 357? I often like to say the actions of the past reverberate in time, and the way someone does anything is the way someone does everything. All right, y'all. Follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Patreon. Tap in with me where you can. There's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes and in front of the camera, but I'm here to let you know what's going down. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.